Jeff, you've said that this is a deep draft. After evaluating the guys and getting to know them, do you still believe that?
More so than ever. I think this is a draft that a lot of the guys whose business it is to know these kids at the earliest ages have been flagging this class for a while. And, we've kind of felt that way throughout the season. And as we have these guys in for workouts and get to know them, feel more strongly than ever that this will be a deep draft and that we will get a quality player.
What's at stake for your team in this draft, considering where it's attempting to go? How critical is it to hit on your pick, your first-round pick especially?
I don't think this is any different than in any other year. It's important that we make quality decisions through our drafts, through the way that we build our organization. Anytime we add someone to our family, whether it's on the court, off the court, it's important that we have a good decision-making process in place and that we add the right people. And, of course, nothing is more important than adding the right players. So it's very important.
How much of the last 6 weeks helped you getting guys in, being able to take them to dinner, find out their likes and dislikes, and get to know them better?
Yeah, it's always a fun part of the process. You actually watch these kids, and with the rules being what they are, we're not allowed to have any contact with anyone about them or around them. But now we get them in, we get to meet them, get to know them, and it's always a fun part of the process. They're great kids. I mean, these guys have invested so much work and time, and they care, obviously, immensely about where they start their careers, and it's a really fun part of the process, and it helps a lot.
Jeff, how much has small ball changed the way you draft? Do you put more emphasis on three-point shooters, on drive and kick point guards? Has it changed the way maybe you would draft 7, 8 years ago?
I think the way the league is changing changes the way that you look at everything. We are constantly in flux. This league is really shifting, and the idea of small ball, the idea of the valuing the three-point shot, but it's still basketball, and you still need a variety of elements to be successful. So yeah, I mean, it's skewing that way, and you kind of get creative with, we want switchable defenders, we want three-point shooters, we want guys that can, shoot off the dribble, get to the free throw line, but it's still basketball. You still, positional size and toughness and basketball IQ, these are all places where every team wants to get better.
Jeff, how strongly are you attempting to move up in this draft, to trade up?
We're having discussions above us and below us, but I wouldn't comment more specifically than that. It's our job to explore every possible option, get to know the draft as well as we possibly can, and obviously the draft isn't just about the draft, it's about other, roster moves that you could, potentially look at as well. So, there's not a team we don't talk to, there's not a stone we don't turn over, in an effort to find out what's available to us. And about now, maybe tomorrow, we'll start to understand if conversations are real or if they're just kind of chatter. And, we go from there. And that's the way these things generally happen. We'll know Thursday whether discussions are real or not.
Jeff, how rigid is the idea of what you want or what you think the team needs, and as opposed to whatever happens ahead of you determining who you pick or what you take?
I'm not understanding. I'm sorry.
If you have a need of a certain type of player, or
yep.
And then something changes ahead of you, how rigid is your thought?
Well, obviously, where we're picking in this draft is indicative that we have a lot of needs. So we have to assess, which players can address the most needs or the most crucial needs. And, at the end of the day, you try to suss out what deals could be available, up or down, and then you just rank the players. And when it comes down to it, you can guess all you want, you can gather all the intel you want on what's going on in front of you, but at the end of the day, the draft picks will get called off, and we'll find out who's gone as you guys do. And as they do, we just move those guys from this side of the board to that side, and then who's next. And that's part of what we go through these long nights now, just the rankings and the re-rankings, and how does that ranking fit in if this deal is there, and It kind of never ends. It doesn't end. It just stops. It just stops when the draft happens. So up until that moment, you're constantly reassessing and shifting rankings and that sort of thing.
There's a lot of focus, obviously, on that first pick, the sixth pick, but how important is it to get value with the 2 second-round picks, whether it's the players you select there or what you can do?
Yeah, I think it's the same. It's the same. Obviously, the 6th pick conventionally, you would say that's a difference maker, and the percentages of 35 and 41 becoming rotational players are a lot lower. But we spend a lot of time on those picks. We pore over them. We've brought in dozens and dozens of kids. Spent a lot of time interviewing them and meeting them and trying to understand our roster balance and who else we could be thinking about and how it all fits together. So, we value those picks and we hold ourselves to a standard that, we expect those guys to become players for us.
How are you looking at, a player that could maybe help you right away as far as your analysis versus somebody who maybe has higher upside, whether it's injuries or youth or those type of things that make the ceiling more difficult to project, but it could be higher?
Yeah. I think we've been pretty consistent about that. We're going to get it right. We're not going to get it fast. And I think, Jonathan Isaac serves as a good example of a kid who probably was less physically equipped than most at that part of the draft to come in and have an impact in the NBA. We're not afraid of that. We're not afraid of investing time and patience if we believe it's the right player and the right person.
How much stock should we put into who you had come in for workouts versus who didn't come in? Does that mean that you liked them more or less?
No, we had invitations out for everybody. This is part of the dance that the draft process has now become, which is, the agents are strategizing on their own side of the fence, how they want to manage their visits and what it says to other teams if we go down to this team to visit or go up to this team to visit. So you don't get everybody that you want. It's just part of the reality of the draft now. And we knew that at 6 there were going to be certain guys that felt they wouldn't get to us and they wouldn't visit. And then at 35, same thing. So, you get in as many as you can. There are other ways to gather information on players, and I will say that, generally, even guys who haven't visited have been very compliant with us. I think this is a place that is looked at as an organization that's going to develop people and bring them into the league properly. And so even guys who have said, look, we don't have the time to visit, we don't think our guy's going to get to you, but we'll be compliant in other ways, whether it's a FaceTime or whatever, just so that you guys can have enough of a comfort level that should something happen on draft day, we have the comfort level to be able to select that player.
Aside from obviously basketball skills, what's most important to you when you're meeting with these guys individually? What are you looking at?
This is hiring somebody. This is bringing somebody into your family. It's everything. So who is this person? And there's no right or wrong answer. There's no one quality that outweighs the other. It's just who is this person? And how does he fit into what we're trying to build? How does he fit into our existing other people? And so it really, at that point, almost becomes not about basketball, but just about fitting people together and trying to see what you're trying to grow.
Jeff, I'm specifically thinking of Trae Young when I asked this, full disclosure, but how do you balance the team's preference for positional size and length against a player who in college did not necessarily distinguish himself defensively? How do you work your way through that?
Well, that's what the draft is. The draft is you have all these levers and all these buttons, and you're never going to get the perfect solution. So you have to try to understand, okay, with the weaknesses that any player presents, how far can we help him get to being better? With the strengths that he has, how much do we need those strengths? How much growth is there? How much do we believe in him? Where's the league going? There are so many things that you factor in, and it's never perfect. That's why none of us know who's going to go in front of us. If it was that simple, then we would all be able to say, this guy's going 1, this guy's going 2. these are questions that make it interesting, and that's these players are all on their own development curve, and so look, we need length, we need IQ, we need shooting, we need speed, we need positional size, we need deep, we need everything. So who's going to help us the most, and where can we get other pieces to complement that player, or do those players already exist on our roster? These are all parts of the conversations. What other deals are we considering? These are all parts of the conversations, and it all goes into the soup. There's no simple. You can't just identify one strand and pull it out.
Bringing Steve into this process kind of midway through, what's his input been like into adding to what you've already established in the draft process?
He's been great. He's been wonderful to work with, and obviously throughout the interview process, we I think got to know him as a coach, and now getting to know him more as a person. And we've had some good dialogue with him about what we're considering and what our roster looks like. Obviously, he's still getting to know the roster himself. He's watching endless video and just trying to understand who our players are, how they fit together, and how we add to that in the draft. But he's been terrific.
Jeff, the fact that you've done 25 of these, John's done a bunch of these, how much does that help being prepared for everything, and how much do you guys bounce ideas of I like this guy, that experience, how much does that help?
We'll find out. Hopefully it helps. I can tell you that there's never a moment that we're not kicking ideas around, and it's not just John, it's everybody, our whole crew. We're in here all day and night, in the days and weeks leading up. Our guys have been working their butts off, and even we had a couple hours off for Father's Day, but we were grinding yesterday as well, and obviously, we all bring different experiences and different, hits and misses to it, and it makes for good dialogue. And we want that disagreement. And we've had a good, healthy dialogue about this draft with our whole group. And obviously, John's an unbelievable resource to have, to be able to talk about anything.
Okay, time for a couple more.
People love drafting, mock drafts, fantasy sports. We're all here just trying to get inside your head. So how blessed do you feel, and how much do you value that responsibility that you're the guy that actually gets to make the picks?
Oh, I'm very fortunate. It's my dream job. Anyone who's in our business, this is their dream job, and it's a tremendous challenge. It's always exciting to wake up and try to take this challenge on and do well, and we feel the weight of it. Not just for our team, but for all of our fans and the city, and we know how important it is. So. It's something that you just get excited about.
Jeff, Bill Belichick likes taking Nick Saban players. He likes Alabama players. Do you have like a coach or a school or that you like getting players from? Has it ever been that way? Or if you get a player from here, he's going to be good.
Well, it's so funny that you asked that, JD, because I would almost say that I won't name names or coaches or even players. But I do think that sometimes, I've had this discussion with scouts over the years, that there are coaches that are so good in college that they feel that by the time they get to the league, they're kind of like maxed out. They've been so well coached. So that can work for you or against you, But it is another kind of just element of things to discuss as you look at these guys,
Jeff, now you say you've been doing this for such a long time. How important now?
Not that long.
But how important now that second round picks now that you guys have like Lakeland and the G League in the second round? How more important are these second round picks now?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think that the importance of the G League is growing, and obviously with us personally, just having it in Lakeland now, it's more attached to our group. Stan Heath has been in our gym every day, talking to Cliff and being around our players, and obviously, Anthony Parker's in our war room, and Tunji Adedipe, who are our GMs and assistant GMs for Lakeland. And yeah, it actually is part of the conversation. Hey, what if we were to select this kid, what would his path be at Lakeland, and how does he feed into our team? So it has become part of the conversation.